Into Lipany we shall go, as we do have an Abbasid mirror on our hands. MarineLorD is going to be in blue, PuppyPaw is going to be in red. Let's take a look at those spawns over there, though, because in an Abbasid mirror, you know, sheep, hunt, those are secondary importance. It's going to be all about those berry patches and how can you harass the opponent on those set berries. And look at the southern part of the map. It's gonna be all about that southern part. It is the berry enjoyer's dream. So many berry patches.
Delhi.
All of them are on the south.
Oh, Delhi players right now, they're like, this is the best map spawn I've ever had. Why couldn't I have got Delhi on a map like this? Because it's not just the berries, the sacred sites as well. Like, it's actually ridiculous how much attention is drawn to the south side of this map. Everything you
even
want
the
is
relics. Look at that.
Yeah.
3 relics on the south. Actually, 4 relics on the south.
I mean, there's gold in the north, but who cares, right? I don't care. I'm playing acids. I don't need that much gold anyway. It's pretty nuts, actually, because you'd expect the generation, like, you expect it to be weighted so that wherever 2 sacred sites are, not as many berry patches would be, or, like, not as many relics would be. It's actually bonkers to me just how much is down there.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see the expansion of these players, because Abbasid Mirror is the type of civilization matchup where you could legitimately see 15 town centers combined. I think there was a game that I cast with Drongo between... I actually don't remember who it was. I think one of them was the Muslim, though. It was an Abbasid mirror on Lipany, and we went up to like 5 versus 6 town centers or something like that. Because, you know, as I always say, you're always trying to build up a lead compared to the opponent. And you can do that by, let's say, killing enemy villagers. But Abbasids, they're not super aggressive at the beginning of the game. So instead, you're trying to build up your lead by adding extra eco. More eco being added than your opponent adds. So if you think your opponent is going 2 town centers, you will double down and go 3. But wait a minute, your opponent sees that you're going 3 town centers, so he's going to add a 4th one because he also wants to build a lead for himself, and it's gonna be about who chickens out first when it comes to adding an extra town center over the existing ones.
Yeah, it kind of plays out like one of those sitcoms where 2 friends are trying to one-up each other at pie. Like, one drinks down a bottle of beer, the other one's like, I'm going to drink a bottle of beer. Then one kisses an old lady, he's like, I'm going to kiss an old lady, and they just keep going back and forth, and it gets more and more absurd. It's actually nuts.
It's the hold my beer moment, right?
Yeah, it's like, my turn. I can outdo... Yeah, but I can do that too. It's like, eventually you reach a point where you're like, what have we done with our evening? We've both got like 20 TCs. Can we stop now, please?
And that's actually a very interesting way to play this game, because for a long time, essentially nothing happens aside from players adding villagers on like 7 town centers, and then suddenly hell is unleashed because you will see both players at like 140 villagers at minute 15.
Yeah, and we can already see onto the stone. MarineLorD's going to make his way, and I believe PuppyPaw is matching the timings. Like, the tech-up time is slightly slower. I wonder, did we get... no, fresh food stuff straight away. Did Wheelbarrow start getting researched by PuppyPaw first?
Yeah, he went for Wheelbarrow first.
Yeah, so that... I think that's actually going to pay for itself compared to the slight delay, because at this stage, what are you really getting that tech up for? You'll save maybe 25 food more than PuppyPaw, but you'll lose out in terms of efficiency from your later Wheelbarrow.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can pop Wheelbarrow immediately as you're going up to Feudal Age even, and then that's going to start boosting your eco the moment it finishes. You might lose out on a tiny bit of food, but let's be honest, especially in an Abbasid Mirror, even losing out on 25 food because you delay your fresh foodstuffs a tiny bit is a minimal factor.
I gotta say, like, a lot of people that maybe looking at this, we've seen MarineLorD trounce so many different civs with the Abbasids here on Lipany, but PuppyPaw really is no pushover. I think this was actually one of his strongest civs from the very early days. He was spamming Abbasids before anyone else via the David Kim account. So this is definitely a signature civ for him and Wham. I think they are... I wouldn't be surprised if this is like their top 3 most played civs still to this day.
Yeah, PuppyPaw is a big enjoyer of the Abbasids out there, whereas for MarineLorD, he actually didn't play a ton of Abbasids. In fact, I want to go back to the Golden League stats here, because, well, that's something that's still representative. We are still using essentially the same balance patch. In the Elite Playoffs, MarineLorD had 3 games played with the Abbasids combined, 2 wins, 1 losses. Somewhat surprisingly, PuppyPaw finished the tournament with 1-3 in the playoffs with the Abbasids, but that's just the top 8 playoffs. If you look at the entire tournament, MarineLorD is 15-8 with the Abbasids, PuppyPaw only 6-4. It's actually surprising to me because, just like you, I also had the impression that PuppyPaw is a bigger enjoyer of this civilization than MarineLorD is.
Yeah. I would imagine like it's weighted based on how often Lipany comes up, and also we have to remember like those stats. There's certain filtered details such as ban rates, because I would expect a high ban rate of Abbasids versus PuppyPaw, as it's like one of the most obvious civs in people's minds, at least especially for the first 2/3 of Golden League. It was the civ he was really known for.
Yeah, that's actually a great point that you bring up indeed, that in the earlier rounds that was a factor. Plus, we also have to consider that in one of the stages of Golden League, you had some restrictions when it comes to civilizations. That is that the most powerful civilizations, most powerful 3 civilizations on each map were banned. That could also be a
come on,
contributing
Lidakor.
factor.
There's no way the Bastards were banned on more than like 2 maps there. But I still remember
mean,
that. Like, if you're an English player, you
yeah, but
basically
why would
got
you pick it
shouted
elsewhere?
by from that.
Right? It's
Exactly.
Like, yeah, it's banned where it's good, it's useless where it's not.
Yeah, it feels like it's really a situational counter civ more than any other civ in the game, where if you're up against, for example, the French or especially the Rus, you're like, oh, the Rus, well, he's going to build a lot of like, horse units. Same with the French. I would get good value out of camels. And it sounds like you're tunnel visioning the value of the Abbasids, but it's very tough. Like, it's very map situational and civ situational. Luckily, Lidakor, I feel like the Abbasids got a really good matchup in this map. I do think the Abbasids are going to win this one.
Yeah, that's actually a great assessment of things, which is also going to mean that in this set we will have an exactly 50% win rate for the Abbasids, given that one player is going to win with this civilization, the other one will lose with that. And you see massively differing approaches over here. We have 3 town centers for PuppyPaw, 2 only for MarineLorD. This is a bit old school. I think this was how Abbasid the Mirrors played out, like January, February timeframe.
Okay, MarineLorD is not happy with the breakfast he got served at the table. He looks to take PuppyPaws away. He's going for outposts. He's actually going to block him with outposts. The question is whether there's a good option here because of the way that PuppyPaw is TC chained.
He also has horsemen out on the battlefield, so it's going to be difficult for PuppyPaw to do anything against that. The gold mine is safe, so you can't push that. You can only go for food. Like, one of the things that you have to look at is gold mine spot. Because if you can deny the gold, you can deny Castle Age.
I think this is too late now, maybe, from MarineLorD. He can block, like, one wood line, but that's as good as it gets. And now the counter outpost coming out. MarineLorD just trying to sneak into PuppyPaw's house and steal his LCD TV, but PuppyPaw, he's got a burglar alarm.
And now he's pulling the villagers. Remember, those villagers are so cheap. They are essentially army for the Abbasids, and when you are PuppyPaw, you also have more villagers than MarineLorD by definition, because you have 3 town centers as opposed to 2. You can afford to lose a couple of villagers for the sake of cleaning this up, especially if you can get those kills on those 4 villas from MarineLorD, who's also towering the other patch of berries out here. I think that this is not concerning for PuppyPaw right now.
No, I think, if anything, PuppyPaw can start to outpost forward of the left TC, and then he still has berry reserves over there. Like, that's where MarineLorD's attention has to be drawn. PuppyPaw, he's playing catch-up right now, does need to fix the archer situation, the camel archer situation, because he's going triple stable, and you are going to lose substantial amounts of your damage unless you can target out the camel archers straight away. Now, if you're able to zerg enough horsemen, you can just wrap around like that. But you're going to take heavy hits as you pass by the front line of MarineLorD.
Yeah, this is a difficult spot for PuppyPaw army composition-wise, because the 2 players are trying to field the same army, but MarineLorD is ahead in that regard, and that is something that PuppyPaw has to understand. Now, obviously, he's building up a villager lead behind this one, so the core concept for PuppyPaw here is that he's playing a defensive game, and you see he's dropping preemptive towers because he knows that MarineLorD pulling those villagers, his intention is to deny all accessible berries, but behind this, PuppyPaw is building up a force of horsemen. I think he's ready to jump on that tower. The tower has not been fortified by MarineLorD, which means it's still easy to burn it down despite having arrow slit emplacements on it.
This is a wide wrap. It's actually skewing MarineLorD's timings. He's going for the outpost now. Rush through. Garrison. PuppyPaw.
Look at you.
Pulls off just before he loses the villagers. And that's a
Yeah.
cancel. Yeah, MarineLorD, he doesn't like this. There's a lot of arrow fire coming in. If he's not careful, he's going to lose the horseman advantage count.
Yeah, he has to be careful because reinforcing is easier for PuppyPaw. And keep in mind that MarineLorD, he cannot afford to lose those 4 villagers on the front, because first of all, he's already behind by villagers, but more importantly, if he loses this tower aggression is gone, and PuppyPaw knows this. He's going to jump on the villagers, no textiles in, and this tower, while I think it's going up, villagers are now damaged, so you are slowly grinding them down.
You just saw it hovered over by Core there. Like, the issue you've got is, like, you're doing 7 damage versus 9 damage, and you're outnumbered right now. Like, PuppyPaw, he needs a camel archer. He finally got one. But it's not here yet, and it means he can't take the fights. At least one outpost is going to go up. The good news for PuppyPaw fans is when you start pushing this many horsemen, like the flood through will burn down these outposts fast. The only way MarineLorD is going to keep them for more than 2-3 more minutes is if he builds them up via the fortifications.
Yeah, and I wonder if MarineLorD is going to do that, because that's going to make it much more difficult for PuppyPaw to clean it up. Though keep in mind that Abbasids can build siege weapons immediately, so if PuppyPaw makes one battering ram with an archer, he could also clean this up, but that would be a pretty hefty investment for PuppyPaw.
Oh,
something that he would
is.
probably like to avoid. No?
He built one archer. You don't do this unless you're, like, in this matchup, it makes no sense.
Oh, that's why!
Unless you're building it. Yeah, because it's wrapping around on the southeast side as well. Oh, MarineLorD. And now we question whether PuppyPaw will be the one who's an outpost enthusiast, but MarineLorD says, hold my beer. It's my turn.
Oh man, and that justifies the investment into a potential battering ram, because now you're facing so many towers. In the meantime, though, MarineLorD is pushing in with the camel archers and the horsemen. Looks like Core doesn't want us to see that, and the numbers seem to be overwhelming now for PuppyPaw. He can start capitalizing on the eco lead. Yes, keep in mind, PuppyPaw had the eco lead, so when it's an even mirror matchup, he can overwhelm his opponent with units, and he's also going to intercept those tower villagers. Suddenly, this is looking better and better for PuppyPaw in a game where he's at match point.
And he's budgeting himself. Like, the outpost pressure isn't coming in quick enough, so PuppyPaw is just taking chunks of the map back as he needs them, and it's working out right now. Age of Outposts is not this simple, folks. We've seen it now. We're going to see it for the second game in a row. You can't just rely on this to win you your games. Good players will find a way to counter, and that's exactly what PuppyPaw's done here.
And this is why Abbasid mirrors often turn into that, you know, just spam of town centers, because it's difficult to pressure them. It's very easy for them to add one battering ram to clean up aggression with towers. And after that, they do have this very nice and strong composition of horsemen and camel archers in Feudal Age. The combination of that, them being able to build up strong economies, basically means that in an Abbasid mirror, if you can't do a tremendous amount of damage with your aggression, the player having more town centers can very easily swing it back in their favor, and that's something that we're already seeing. We're just 30 minutes into the game, but you can already see how well that third town center is paying off for PuppyPaw. He's up by 17 villagers, and it's showing on the battlefield as well. It's not just pure boom and no army, it's showing on the battlefield.
It's really escalating beyond MarineLorD's control. His only choice now is to try and castle up, but the problem is you're castling up against mass horsemen. So it's not even like you're... Say, for example, when you're up against the Roost in this situation, they have like 50 archers. If you can get castle age, you build a Mangonel, smush, they're gone. Doesn't work the same against horsemen, so you can't just rely on that as a counter. Nice move out here by PuppyPaw. Maybe he loses one villager for his trouble. Nope, he's going to stay alive. But the horsemen are now coming. Counter reaction out of PuppyPaw. He is going to be being placed to intercept here. And because he overwhelms, MarineLorD can't even go for the trade, because if he loses his troops here, it's going to be him being raided in his own base.
And if he gets raided on the gold mine, his castle age might even be denied here. You see, he's lacking gold, he's losing his army. He's gonna have enough gold for castle age, but he can't accelerate it. He needs to wait 145, and I think he's gonna have just enough gold for castle, but what is he going to do in castle age without access to gold? All his power units are locked behind that barrier of gold, and you see he's going up with the culture wing. The problem is that he's behind by 23 villagers, and what's more concerning is that he has half the army of PuppyPaws. And PuppyPaw, if he senses that his opponent is castling, he's gonna go all in and wipe out half of MarineLorD's eco. MarineLorD is in big trouble here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, with the numbers looking like this, MarineLorD's going to have to open up Patreon to get the gold required to actually escalate. I mean, he's going to need to be hard into spears, hard in man-arms, like hard in the siege. He needs something more. And oh boy, this...
Ooh.
The timing
could the horseman find the TC? It's on the berries.
Absolutely abhorrent, because he's marching that way. PuppyPaw, his doggy senses are tingling. This is going to be tight on the vision.
Oh, it looks like he's going for the stone. MarineLorD gets away with that one.
Okay, he stays alive for the moment, but he just saw him in stone. He's like, why are you in stone right now? You stop doing towers. He's moving out towards the mill, and there it is. He sees it. He catches him. It is complete, but now it's completely useless because he's going to dive.
Oh, cavalry numbers looking way better for PuppyPaw, and right now for him, castling is out of the question. He probably has to understand that, well, at this point, MarineLorD is likely castling. He knows that, so he needs to go for his full Feudal Age pressure. He's got the eco to do it with 1800, 1900 food per minute we are talking about. 93 villagers as opposed to 65. He just needs to make sure his production is there, and he can easily overrun MarineLorD with superior
This
numbers.
is a classic throwaway. PuppyPaw's going in on a second-pronged attack here. He's attacking from multiple directions. He's into the main base right now, diving in once again and forcing idle eco. This is the thing, you're correct. Like, he has a big enough eco to not really care about throwing this away. This is the classic throwaway force we see so often. You throw forces into your opponent's base, so he goes defensive, and MarineLorD is wise to it. He goes on the offensive because he says, why are you doing this? It makes no sense unless you are now saving for a tech up that is going to be 2 minutes away because you're the Abbasids and you cannot accelerate it.
Yeah, MarineLorD senses blood in the water over here, is going to move in on that town center, but behind this, he's going to have his villagers slaughtered on the wood line and also on the berries. And MarineLorD has his entire army on the front. He has nothing to defend with. Both sides will lose villagers, but PuppyPaw can afford losing villagers a lot more than MarineLorD can.
He's pulling back right now. We're going to get blocked off by the second wave of horsemen here. Several are going to be going down. And there's not enough room in this inn for you all. And there's no room in my barn tonight. MarineLorD, he's in trouble right now. A lot of idle eco at a crucial point when he can't afford it. And his troop count isn't high enough to shut down all of PuppyPaw's economy at once.
Camel Riders now making their appearance as a response to the horsemen, but PuppyPaw bought himself sufficient amount of time to cost all this up, and keep in mind, we are looking at a scenario with him 35 villagers ahead compared to the opponent. MarineLorD stays afloat for the time being, but PuppyPaw, once he reaches Castle Age, he can field the same units, and from this point on, you're looking at a mirror where if both players are doing the same thing, then the player with the better eco wins, and that is PuppyPaw. This is still looking pretty grim for MarineLorD.
PuppyPaw in a phenomenal position right now on match point, looking like he is ahead here. A man who, if he does win this, will be top in the weekly leaderboards on points, which is one of the ways you can qualify to the road to Red Bull Wololo to make it to the LAN. And then on top of that, this is a man who just missed out, was pipped at the post in a best of 5 by Viper for a slot to Wololo from the Golden League in a series that went to all 5 games. That's how close to the edge he was. And now he has MarineLorD on the edge of the abyss here in week number 2.
But hold your beer out there, because we are seeing some Camel Riders making their appearance, and we have quite a lot of those for MarineLorD. And right now it is PuppyPaw who has to go back to his town center. He's yet to start adding his own Castle Age military. And in terms of unit composition, right now MarineLorD might have a slight edge, might buy himself some time to catch up in the villager department. PuppyPaw, though, setting himself up for the long run, voting off the northern side of the map. Not the southern part, though, when we talked about that, the southern part is where it's at. It's all about those berries to the south. MarineLorD actually already forced to add farms.
This is bonkers, actually, what PuppyPaw is doing. Like, he's stretching himself in. He's running out of eco. You can see it. He hasn't fully farm transitioned. The remarkable part is he's throwing away troops into MarineLorD's Vanguard force while also shutting down eco back in MarineLorD's base. And this is all just an ingredient in this recipe from PuppyPaw. And it comes in due to how big his eco is. Like, it's
and look at the farming transition.
He's able to afford it. Yeah, it's so big, it's so quick, because his eco is already boomed to a ridiculous degree, up 110 villages, while MarineLorD only just cracked past 80.
And MarineLorD is yet to transition to farms. So, yeah, sure thing, you have a lot of berries on the south, but MarineLorD will have to make that awkward farm transition at some point, whereas PuppyPaw is done with this. And now PuppyPaw can focus entirely on military production. MarineLorD is gonna get cleaned up over here by the Camel Riders, and that's where PuppyPaw can start thinking about unleashing hell, also working his way towards those relics.
The moss that will be very useful, considering they're now both into Camel Riders. Camel Riders do cost 60 gold to produce each of them. So that can be a difference maker here, because MarineLorD will have to invest villagers into going into gold veins while he's behind, and PuppyPaw will just be able to reallocate them elsewhere. And it means he should be able to afford more production buildings, pushing out units in the coming minutes off the back of the relics, in conjunction with the fact that he still has a 20 villager lead over MarineLorD.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's only 20 villagers now. Used to be 40, so MarineLorD is catching up. But as we discussed this one, the reason why PuppyPaw is still so much ahead is because he already completed a farm transition, and you see he's voting himself up. He's conscious about the fact that he's ahead, so he just needs to make sure he doesn't get overrun. And if he can pick himself up the majority of the relics, and he will have access to 3, potentially 4 of them very easily, one is denied by MarineLorD's town center, it's going to be a relic advantage for him. MarineLorD is going to add another town center here, but the importance of those town centers, now that you're up to like 9300 villagers, it's gonna be way less impactful than it was like 5 minutes ago when you were in the down 40s.
Right now, it feels like the momentum has led up from MarineLorD. That assault, that kind of reset it a little bit. It caught him up a bit. Notice that he's now switching into Lancers. An interesting choice considering you force PuppyPaw to invest in Camel Riders. This is not a great trade, but I think the logic from MarineLorD is he doesn't want to fight anymore. At least not something that fights back.
Yeah.
He wants to find villages, and that's where Lancers are better.
But that's where walls are, well, walls are better for PuppyPaw at least, because he's walling himself up. I think he is aware of the fact that MarineLorD needs some good raids to make this happen. And if he's completed with the walls on the right side, it's going to be difficult for MarineLorD to raid because he can focus all his attention, all the Camel Riders to the left side. And this is actually very smart from PuppyPaw because this way he cannot be raided from the right, so he can focus his efforts on the most important part of the map, that critical left side which holds all the relics, all the berries, and you see he's now castling up the sacred sites as well.
It's a sneaky keep as well.
And it's on MarineLorD's gold. Look at that, that's MarineLorD's gold.
He's still in the Stealth Forest as well. I don't think MarineLorD saw that. Maybe he got a glance right at the end, but that would have been tight on the vision, and he can't even assault it anyway because PuppyPaw, he's got 12 Camel Riders out in the field, 8 Camel Archers as well, and well, finally MarineLorD stopped pushing Lance. He stopped at 1 and 2. He's gone back into the Camel Riders, but he's notably behind, trying to build up the military district now. This is an awkward state of affairs for MarineLorD. He's going to be shrunk on the map, and it's going to be 2/3 of the territory going to PuppyPaw.
And the thing is that now MarineLorD is reactive. It's full reaction gameplay from him, and he's getting pushed back more and more. In a mirror, you being the player reacting is not a good sight to see, especially when it's match point. Now, MarineLorD is far from being out of this one just yet, but, you know, those dark clouds are gathering above his head. I feel like a snowball is slowly starting to roll down hills.
You can't mention dark clouds and weather conditions around PuppyPaw. You don't want to jinx it right now. I mean, this guy... unfortunate set of events time and time again. Weather issues in Golden League, technical issues with his keyboard in the first weekend of the road to Red Bull Wololo. But here, now that he's showing up, now that the gear works, now that his connection works, everything works, he's able to put in the work and is turning the screws on the #1 seeded player in the game.
Oh my goodness, and it's not just the #1 seeded player we're talking about, it's the champion of Golden League. Golden League, which finished 2 weeks ago. This guy just won the largest ever, at least up until this point, Age of Empires Top 4 tournament. And now PuppyPaw is taking him down over here with what is a spectacular show. And MarineLorD is playing really well. It's just the fact that PuppyPaw, he always seems to find a way. That's the best way to put it. Even in the tough spots, well, excluding the previous game. If you take a look at PuppyPaw's set versus Kazva, if you take a look at the games that PuppyPaw played against MarineLorD, PuppyPaw always seems to be able to find a way. And that is remarkable from him in this weekend's sets.
Wow. Speaking of remarkable, look what MarineLorD actually done. Not only is he caught up on the villager department, the surprising part to me is he's already grabbed 2 relics, and the third one is on his side of the map. So just
nice.
Sneaky Goose here, able to catch up in multiple ways, but he needs to catch up in military as well, as PuppyPaw is doubling him up in the military force. Yeah,
definitely en route to recovery is MarineLorD, because, as you said, he caught up with the villagers, he caught up with the relics. The problem and the issue that is that he hasn't caught up in the army numbers, and right now he's going to get his entire army cleaned up by the overwhelming numbers of PuppyPaw over here. Slowly Spearmen are being added to the mix over here, but Camel Archers will be very efficient against this, and MarineLorD is down to 10 army. He caught up with everything but army, but right now all you need is army, because PuppyPaw is going to keep flooding units into your base. You desperately need more army if you're MarineLorD, especially when a keep is getting dropped in your face like that.
Right now, and remember, you're playing as the Abbasids, you only have 2 landmarks. This is a staging point for a siege force. This is big out of PuppyPaw. He knew what he was doing. He threw away the military because he can afford to.
Look at the mosque, it's right next to the keep as well. The same way that PuppyPaw destroyed the Abbey of the Trinity in the previous game, or the one in Dry Arabia, you can take down that mosque and MarineLorD is gonna be cut off from the relics.
And the villages, they're going for it.
Let's go!
Out right now. He's forcing them at it because he understands MarineLorD. Like, he saw that fight up north. He's like, is that all you have? Is that all you have? Okay, then I'll go end the game.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're losing a lot of villager efficiency here, but PuppyPaw is at 138 of eco. He doesn't need all those villagers, especially if he feels that MarineLorD doesn't have the army. If MarineLorD doesn't have the army right now, you want to make your push right now. You want to time this well, and this is why he's pulling those villagers. House of Wisdom already down to 66% HP, and the trebuchets are yet to make an appearance.
This is cost efficient as well, Lidakor. I think all those villages actually cost less than a trebuchet. It's actually ridiculous to think about that for a second. Interesting choice by PuppyPaw to commit onto both landmarks, though, because if he takes out the House of Wisdom, he gets rid of the fire resistance via the House of Wisdom. So kind of a weird choice, but it is going to fight. It is going to force a suboptimal fight out of MarineLorD. Engaging with Spearman. Now look at that heavy leverage. That's all he can really afford. And that's a problem because he's up against a mixture of camel archers and crossbowmen with a keep to protect them. And the villagers, they're just waving their torch like, remember me? Over here. You still haven't even got through the army, but we're getting through your base. House of Wisdom below a quarter now.
Yeah, more Spearmen now coming out here for MarineLorD. He has an endless supply of that, but you're about to lose your House of Wisdom. And when that's gone, the Town Center is going to be the primary target, which has already been damaged by some Trebuchet fire. And another keep is coming in here for PuppyPaw. I think he has it. How do you stop this?
This should be it. Because you can't even go back in and repair now. That's why he's doing it. PuppyPaw's like, maybe I lose the villager force, but as long as the keep goes up, you can't recover. And MarineLorD panic garrisons. He's trying to shoot through them, but the build speed might just be good enough. It's going to be tight. One going down, just the TC remaining. The trebuchets are rolling in. There's 3 trebuchets for PuppyPaw. The crossbowmen are holding in the meantime, and there is not enough counter siege coming out from MarineLorD to repel and push him away. Keep goes up. And it looks like he's going to go out. MarineLorD on the edge, about to be booted in the hole. And PuppyPaw looking unstoppable to take week number 2 of the road to Red Bull Wololo.
MarineLorD can't stop this, he can't repair, you mentioned that, and he can't take down the keep in time. Villagers are being pulled against that town center, 4 trebuchets firing at it, and you see now MarineLorD is desperately pulling villagers, but that's a last-ditch effort over here. It's over.
It's on fire.
He can't protect this anymore. It's on fire. MarineLorD is going to be defeated here. And with that, PuppyPaw is going to take the crown of the champion in week 2 of Road to Wololo. What a set and what a game to finish it with. MarineLorD gets defeated and PuppyPaw takes the crown.
And what a way to do this. PuppyPaw, after losing to technical issues, not even getting the opportunity to take on Beastie in week 1, to come into week 2. And now, with his position from week 1 and week 2, I believe that will now put him top on the weekly points, which can matter at the end of this, as 2 people will qualify based on these weeklies. And I'm pretty sure he's clearly made his way through to the monthly, where he'll get an opportunity at 1 of 2 spots. A player that only just missed out on qualifying already to Red Bull Wololo via the Golden League, losing the Viper 2-3. He now comes into the man that won Golden League and takes him out 3-1. What a remarkable performance out of the Canadian.
Absolutely amazing performance, consistent throughout the sets that he has played. And let's keep in mind, this guy has lost a grand total of 1 game this weekend and the last weekend combined. That is to MarineLorD, that Chinese Tower Rush game that you have witnessed before. The rest of the games, he won all of them, and as you pointed out, with that he moves very high on the leaderboard with the weekly points, but I feel like there is a second aspect to this one for PuppyPaw. It's the mental barrier. You can beat MarineLorD on the ladder, it doesn't matter until you cannot take down the best players of the scene in tournaments. And PuppyPaw just did that. He can go into next week, the monthly finals, and potentially even Heidelberg, the LAN event itself, saying, look, I didn't just defeat MarineLorD sometimes in the ladder. I can beat him in tournaments, and tournaments are different from the ladder. PuppyPaw, I think he has crossed the barrier where we really seriously have to consider him as one of the most elite players of Age of Empires 4. Yes. Not just because of this weekend's performance. Like, let's make it clear, sure thing, it's a nice weekend for him. But he also performed really well in Golden League. He was top 4 in there, and he has shown ability to beat down the best players of the game as well